The rough draft was Marx's first stab at dissecting capitalism. Rosdolsky calls it a time capsule, a glimpse into Marx's brain as he wrestled with the beast of capitalism, trying to pin it down and rip its heart out. The rough draft is where Marx worked out his concept of capital in general, a stripped-down, bare-bones model of the system. Think of it like taking apart a car engine to figure out how it works before you start worrying about traffic jams and road rage. Marx wasn't interested in the surface-level chaos of stock markets and trade wars just yet. No, he wanted to dig down to the core, to the fundamental laws that make capitalism tick. And what he found was a machine built on contradictions, grinding itself to dust. Here's where it gets juicy. Most people think Marx was obsessed with exchange value, money, prices, the almighty dollar. But the rough draft shows that use value, how useful something is, was just as important to him. Sounds obvious, right? But here's the kicker: capitalism doesn't give a damn about usefulness. It's all about profit. You could be starving in the streets, but if there's no money to be made feeding you, tough luck. That's the tension Marx zeroed in on, the clash between what people need and what the system values. It's the kind of contradiction that keeps the whole rotten machine lurching forward, always on the brink of collapse. Surplus value, the crown jewel of Marx's critique, the smoking gun that proves capitalism is a rigged game. Here's the deal: you work your ass off in a factory, churning out widgets. Your boss pays you just enough to keep you alive, but the value of what you produce, that's a whole different story. The difference between what you're paid and what your labor is actually worth, that surplus value. And that's where the capitalist makes their profit. It's theft, plain and simple, but it's baked into the system. Rosdolsky shows us that Marx was already hammering out this idea in the rough draft long before Capital hit the shelves. This wasn't some last-minute revelation, it was the foundation of his entire critique. Marx spoke also about the realization problem. Capitalism is obsessed with growth, always producing more and more. But if workers' wages stay low, and they always do, who's gonna buy all that crap? It's a snake eating its own tail, a system doomed to choke on its own excess. And then there's the falling rate of profit. Capitalists, in their endless quest for efficiency, replace workers with machines. Sounds great, right? Nope. Machines don't create surplus value, only human labor does. So the more you automate, the less profit you squeeze out of the system. It's like building a bigger and bigger bonfire, only to realize you're running out of wood. Marx called this the increasing organic composition of capital, but let's be real, it's just capitalism digging its own grave. Marx wasn't just dissecting capitalism, he was putting it in its place in the grand sweep of history. This is where historical materialism comes in. The idea is simple but devastating. The way we produce and distribute stuff shapes everything else: politics, culture, even our damn ideas. Capitalism isn't eternal, it's just the latest stage in a long, bloody evolution. Feudalism gave way to capitalism, and capitalism will give way to something that is up to us. Marx wasn't just some ivory tower intellectual. He was in the trenches, grappling with the real world. But to understand that world, he had to strip it down to its bare essentials. That's what the rough draft was all about: abstraction. By peeling away the messy details, Marx could focus on the core relationships between capital, labor, and value. It's like building a skeleton before you add the flesh. But Marx didn't stop there. He knew that theory without action is just mental masturbation. The rough draft shows him wrestling with the big question: how do we turn this critique into a revolution? The problems Marx identified haven't gone away, they've just mutated. The drive for profit, the exploitation of labor, the concentration of wealth, the tendency toward crisis, it's all still here, just dressed up in 21st century clothes. Global financial meltdowns, skyrocketing inequality, the climate apocalypse, it's the same damn story, just a different chapter. Marx didn't have all the answers, but he gave us the tools to start asking the right questions. The rough draft is a reminder that capitalism isn't some natural law, it's a system, and systems can be changed. But it won't happen on its own. Marx knew that. He called on us to act, to organize, to fight for a world where people come before profit. So here we are, staring down the barrel of late-stage capitalism. The rough draft isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a battle plan. It's a challenge to dig deeper, to understand the system that shapes our lives, and to imagine something better. Marx wasn't just some angry guy with a pen, he was a revolutionary, a thinker who dared to dream of a world beyond exploitation. The question is, do we have the guts to pick up where he left off? Now, pour yourself a stiff drink, light a cigar, and start reading. The revolution won't wait.